Hello, welcome to Wide Left Sports. Today I am joined by Missoula Sentinel girls basketball coach Karen Deden. Karen, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Glad to be on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for answering the email that I sent out to all the girls coaches. So thank you. My first question is, what kind of gave you the coaching bug? You've been doing this for quite a while. So what first gave you that want to coach?
I think probably when I was in college and doing camps at the University of Washington, I really like kids. I like working with them. I like seeing the growth in their game. Um, I was able to play for a really long time, but during the summers, I would always come home and help at camps. And when I stopped playing, I was offered a job just randomly in an airport, actually, by Judy Spolstra, who used to be Montana State University's coach. And she had just taken the job at Oregon State, and we happened to be run into each other at Salt Lake Airport. And she asked if I'd ever be interested in coaching, and I said, "Well, I have some time. I think I could do it." And that was kind of the start of it.
That's awesome. So then what landed you in Missoula there at Sentinel?
Well, I coached at Oregon State for 3 years. There was a little break in between. I went back to playing professionally for 2 years. So I coached 95, 96. And then I played for another 2 years from 96 to 98. And then in 1998, I went back to Oregon State. And in 2000, I had my first daughter. And coaching college basketball and being a parent is really difficult. And I figured that I wanted to be more of a part of my kids' lives than what it was going to be if I was going to be a college coach. And I stepped away at Oregon State. In that same year, my brother-in-law, Pete Haskett, who was the girls' coach at Sentinel High School, took an administrative job. So there just happened to be an opening at Sentinel the year that I stepped away. And so I took the job. I was offered the job at Sentinel that year.
Wow, so it kind of just happened. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
So when you made the jump from college to high school and then also pro to college, what was kind of the like differences in those levels?
I think, well, I mean, initially just from college to professional, it does become more of a job. And there's in college, I think all athletes play their sports for fun and because they like their sports. But I think when you hit that next level, there's a lot more stress. And I do think college players today feel that because of the NIL.
Right.
And but I think it's a big thing when you for me at that point in time playing for money, because the realization that they are judging you. You do need to play your best. You need to be able to be your best basketball player that you can be during those times, and that your job is based on what you're putting out there on the court. And I think that there's stress behind that. And so you're it's not always as fun as it was when you were in college. And again, the game's changed now because those kids do have that pressure.
Right.
Um, Going from playing professional basketball back to coaching college, you know, I think that the professional level, obviously, you have your collective group on a whole are better athletes, but the requirements of the professional level are very similar to the college level, especially nowadays. I would say, the amount of time you got to put in, the amount of watching film, the amount of the off-season workouts. I mean, you look at these kids in college now, and granted, I would say that I worked out year round when I was in college, but I don't think that there was as much set time for those workouts as there is now. I
Right.
think I think better athletes did work out as much as they do now, but it was on their own. And I think, going from playing to being a coach, it's always kind of a transition because you're you're now trying to give them your knowledge that you have, and it's hard sometimes to transfer things that come easy to you that don't come easy to student athletes, especially
Right.
at the college level. And I feel like when you look at all athletes, there's things that hold them back from being the best they can be, like whether it's speed, whether it's their height, whether it's physical, stature. Sometimes it can be thinking the game too. And I think a lot of elite athletes, you start to realize that they think the game with ease.
For sure. For sure. So, in that time, what have you seen as changes in the game? Obviously, we talk about NIL with college, but at the high
Mm-hmm.
school level, what have you seen changes in the game in the time that you've been a coach?
Oh, I think the kids are way more athletic than when I played. I mean, I look at those WNBA players and in the high school and the college players for women right now. And I mean, you're talking about elite athletes and kids play they play at a higher level in the athleticism piece. I don't necessarily I think they can think faster probably because they've played at a different speed. The speed of the game has increased so much,
Yeah.
and the overall not fundamentals, because the fundamentals have gone away a little bit. I feel like sometimes I watch and I think to myself that should I be allowing my younger players to play like that when it's reckless isn't the right word, but a lot of it will lead to turnovers because they're just not at the level to play that fast or to make a lot of it's passing for me. I feel like they
Yeah.
see it, but they're not at that level to make the pass that's going to get through.
Right.
And, you see that sometimes with shots. Like I try to explain to my kids that in order it to be a game shot, you need to be able to make 8 out of 10. You want to get to the point where you can make 8 out of 10 without defense. And then you see these kids pull up for floaters, a shot that they don't practice a ton in high school. I grant it, there are a lot of college players and there are a million, you know, kids who athletes who play on the professional level who can hit those shots because they've practiced it enough.
Right.
Yeah. The game has definitely changed. It's faster. You added in the 30-second clock. I think a little bit more one-on-one. I think women's basketball, though, still has there you can see plays, you can see the plays happening. Um, I personally prefer college men's and women's basketball and high school basketball to the NBA because I feel like the NBA just breaks down to a lot of one-on-one right away. And you
Yeah.
don't see as much of the play action. And I'm sure their coaches would disagree with me that that's a set play or whatever. But I like seeing the play evolve.
For sure. So then with that, how do you kind of help coach your kids when they are seeing the Steph Currys of the world that shoot 40-foot three-pointers with absolutely no problem? You see the Caitlin
Yeah.
Clarks of the world that are doing the same thing. And then I just saw a thing where the Miami Heat are playing basically playlist basketball and just kind of freewheeling it. How do
Mm-hmm.
you as a coach adjust to that style of basketball?
Well, I think there are some high school kids who can play within those confines, but I think it's like the 10,000 hour rule. The reason why Steph Curry and those in those NBA players who get paid a lot and who
Yeah.
play a lot of time can make those shots is that they put 10,000 hours into basketball.
Right.
They've done all the little things to be that amazing. I mean, kids the realization of for kids to how many hours somebody like Caitlin Clark has put into basketball would blow their minds. Like it would blow their minds to what she does in a day.
Yeah.
And and there are kids who probably realize it, and there are kids that put in, a substantial amount of time. But you constantly have to remind them that if you continue to play, and you continue to get better, there's going to be a time where you can do that. But right now, you still got to put a lot of time into the sport to get to that spot, to get to the point where you're pulling up in transition for a 3-pointer, and I feel good about it. Right? I
Right.
mean, you see that sometimes, you see it in the WNBA or in the NBA where they got a wide open layup and they pull up for a 3. Not so much in the NBA, but they pull up for a 3 and you're like, oh man, but they've practiced it enough to know that it's like a layup for them.
Right. No,
Yeah.
100%. So a big part of what you and any high school coach does is you want to get your players to the next level to play collegiate basketball,
Yeah.
no matter the level, but you want to get them to that next level. So what is your role in them getting to that next level besides obviously coaching them and helping them in game?
Well, I think from the get-go you kind of prioritize with them that if this is something you want to do, you have to take the steps to be offered that, you know. And those steps are, you got to sit down and figure out, is this something that I really want to put time into? And if you're not willing to put the time into it, that, the opportunities, I have to explain to them what opportunities exist for whatever level of commitment they're willing to put in. And I feel like during my time, the first 21 years I coached at Sentinel, for any kid who wanted to play at that next level, I was more than willing to reach out to the programs that I felt like would suit them as athletes. I don't think as a high school coach that you try to oversell a kid.
Right.
You try to explain to them, like, the greatest thing about Montana is we have, I think 6 NAIA schools.
Yeah. Off the top of my
Right?
head, that's what I'm thinking. Right. Yep.
Yeah. And they have an opportunity, if they'll put the time in and put a lot of effort forth in their sports, to participate at a really good level of basketball or football or whatever it is at
Yeah.
those NAIA schools. To be a Division I athlete takes a lot. You have to have something special about you. You either
Yeah.
have to be tall, like myself, or fast, or an amazing shooter. There has to be something that stands out. It's more difficult to be obviously a Division I athlete. And I think that just being honest with kids and explaining from the get-go when they, approach you about wanting to play at that next level, being honest with them about, what's your expectation. Like when most kids that are in your high school program that play college, most of them are on JV varsity, as
Yeah.
definitely by sophomore year.
Right.
And so you can explain to them, if they say that, what the steps are. Obviously going out and playing AAU during the summer, getting seen by a lot of different coaches, reaching out to coaches that they want to play for, but also explain to them that, when you entered this program, you became a starter pretty quick, or you
Yeah.
were a contributor quick. If you go to a school that's above you, there's a chance you're not ever a contributor.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm not saying to be mean about it. I'm saying that I always think you have to show them the realistic of, but if you go here, you could maybe start all 4 years,
Yeah.
and be realistic about those things. And it's always tough when a kid puts in a lot of time and is a good high school player, but just can't make it to that next level. And I've had kids like that, and you feel bad you try your best to get them an opportunity or a position to walk on or stuff. But for females, and this has only been, I can only speak from my experience, is that often my athletes are really good students.
Yeah.
And it's a hard sell for me to tell a kid to go to a junior college when they're a 4.0 student.
I can
And
totally understand that.
that's not downplaying any junior college. That's not my point of that statement. It's just, you have to, for those kids, they have to sit back and go, what's more important? You know, do I just want to focus on my 4-year education, or is the basketball the priority? And then I'm going to put forth the effort academically. You know, I think that maybe is a little bit more difficult in girls than it is boys, just because there's a lot more opportunity for boys after
Yeah.
college. But the reality is there's only, what are there, 120 spots in the WNBA?
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, some of the best players who graduated last year are not in the WNBA.
I know that's what was so
I would say
crazy to
not
me.
even the top 10, right? There's some
Yeah.
kids who weren't in the top 10, who were in the top 10, who aren't in the WNBA.
Yeah, that's what's so crazy to me because I didn't realize it was so cutthroat that first round
Oh,
picks are getting cut.
super cutthroat. I mean,
Yeah.
good players get cut from that league. And then they come back, 3 or 4 years later, and they've played overseas, and they'll beat out a kid who made it from the get go. Or, not always, but there's some kids that I know that Indiana Fever, when they had all those injuries, they picked up some kids, that some women who were good contributors for them, that came from overseas.
Yeah. No,
And
it
then, and then you got to battle the foreign players who are trying to break into it. I mean, it's a hard league to get into.
oh for sure. And if I'm not mistaken, it's 3 rounds of
Yeah,
drafting. So even
yeah,
that alone makes it hard.
yeah. Definitely difficult league to battle.
Oh, for sure. So, one of my questions is I know um obviously there are not many athletes that can go D1, but you do have a D1 school right in your backyard there with the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
How awesome is it to have them right there for those kids that are able to be a D1 athlete to potentially go to a hometown school?
Oh yeah, that's a great thing about Montana is you have University of Montana and Montana State right here, and you've got they're you know they're gonna look at kids who could be possible contributors. And I mean, right now I think the Lady Grizz have 2 kids from Hellgate, Chloe Larson and I'm just forgetting the Dick kid, and
Mm-hmm.
then they just signed Avery DeCoit from Big Sky. I mean that's definitely a great opportunity for our kids. I had during my time. I'm trying to think how many players. Maybe three of my players played there. Um, my sisters played there, had a great experience under Robin. My sister-in-law played there, had a great experience. I mean, I think the level of play at University of Montana and Montana State kind of speak for themselves, and the kids get real excited when that opportunity presents themselves because they have such a following. I mean, both
Yeah.
schools have such a following. My niece played for MSU. I mean, it's that basketball is a big thing in Montana, and it's awesome that the kids who are at that level have that opportunity.
No, it really is. And I just think it's so cool when Montana kids go to those schools. I just think it's awesome because they do. The second those scholarships come in or those offers of any kind come in, they're like, yep, we're going to go there.
Yeah, for sure. I know it's definitely the pinnacle for them, and that's the way it should be.
For sure. So now I want to talk about this upcoming year because we're coming up on the girls' basketball season and basketball season as a whole. So, what does your team look like for this year?
Well, as far as experience, we're young. I do have some older players, but we're young. They graduated 6 seniors last year, and I was not a part of it. I've been out of it for 4 years. My kid went to college and played in college, so I stepped aside so I could watch her play.
Yep.
Um, but I think those kids had taken up the majority of the time on the court, and so I think we're a little bit unknown. I was able to coach our kids for. We went out and did 3 tournaments in June, and then had camp and worked out a little bit during the summer, and have had some open gyms. It's hard to say. I got some. We're bigger than usual. I would say that. I feel like I've got Avery Ogren is probably my most seasoned player in our program, and I'm sure we're gonna have to rely on her a lot. And then Lucy Baylor also, and she's a senior post player. Avery's a 2-3, and then I have a young point guard who played some varsity minutes last year too, who I think will be a big contributor. But we're going to be young, so it's going to be how far, how fast, right? You come in
Yeah.
that short amount of time.
Love it. So then my next question is about the rivalries in Missoula.
Yeah.
Because you obviously have, Sentinels right there with Hellgate and Big Sky. So what does it mean
hmm
to have two other schools right there in your hometown that you can be built-in rivals with?
Well, it's huge. I don't know how much you know about the Hellgate Sentinel rivalry, but that's a big one, and
Oh
it's
yeah,
always it's going to be interesting because it's going to be the first time in my life I'm going to be coaching against my player. Maddie Keese played for me at Sentinel, so we've been joking about it a little bit, but yeah, I also feel like obviously Big Sky has an older team, and they have DeQuaid, and they have one young sophomore player who played a lot of minutes last year. But both of those teams I would think would be in the top of the league on our side. So obviously that puts more pressure on the situation for us, and you always want to be city champs, that's for sure here in Missoula, because people definitely lay claim to that. It's not like they don't talk about, well, we beat everybody in Missoula, but I actually think you know our way to state might be through them,
yeah,
because they're going to be I feel like them and Flathead, maybe Glacier, will be the main competition on our side.
for sure. And then just talk about the competition. I mean, I know you talked about the West, but the whole double A. I mean, I know on the eastern side here, it's extremely competitive as well. So what is it
Yeah.
like to be a part of a conference that's just competitive from top to bottom?
Yeah, well, I think the East Side has a lot of Division 1 players out there, so there's that.
Yeah.
Um, and they're pretty seasoned teams. That's what I would say. Those players have been together for a little bit. Gallatin's obviously got strong backcourt and some good front court too. And then you throw in Billings West, and you got a whole squad. Um, it'll be interesting. We play Billings the first weekend, so we'll get to see them. I don't think Gallatin's on our schedule. I think it's Bozeman. I can't remember, so we'll get to see them. But I I just think the level of play over there is, they've got some tremendous players, and obviously, you want to make a good showing. I do think that they have, as far as like depth of talent, they might have more definitely than the West Side. So you battle that, but I also think it's always this, in the end, when you win state and stuff and you get to state, it's still a Cinderella story. You got to
Oh
hope
yeah,
no one gets hurt. You got to hope you're playing your best basketball. You got to hope no one gets sick. And there's a lot of things that go into that last weekend. If you can make it there, there's
yeah,
a lot of things that go into that last weekend. And, some of it's coaching, and some of it's how you prepare your athletes to deal with the 3 days in a row of games.
for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. So one of my final questions here is, what is your like? I guess, um, your preferred Spartan player?
My
Like, who do you
my
look
perf
for?
what
Who
in
do you
my
look for in a player?
oh, I want a kid who is going to give me their all on defense, play hard nosed defense, rebound, talk, communicate, and on offense make good decisions. And when I say that, they take the shots that are in their game and they look for opportunities for their teammates. And for me, it's all about the work ethic and how they communicate with each other.
Love it. And then my final question is, what advice do you have for young women that want to get into basketball and want to play high school and then potentially collegiately?
I always say this to players: don't let your coach decide who you're going to be. You decide who you're going to be. And I think oftentimes what happens, especially with the influx of all the AAU, and I played AAU as a kid. I probably was more at the start of it, especially for
Mm-hmm.
Montana. But I think that sometimes we lose athletes in this whole process that could have been great players because the burnout and also just interaction with negative people.
Yeah,
And that's where I say don't let your coaches decide who you're going to be as a player. You decide it. It's about what you want out of it and what effort you will put into it.
I love that. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on and talking about Sentinel basketball. And I wish you the best of luck this season. And tell me what weekend you're here in Billings because I'll do my best to be here. So,
They play us at home, thank gosh.
oh, okay. I thought it was here.
Nope, they're coming our way.
Well, there you
But
go.
thank you for having me.
Yes, you have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.